Welcome to Blueprint Future, where we decode the trends shaping our tomorrow. For decades, we've built our economic and investment strategies on a set of core assumptions. Well, today, those assumptions are not just bending, they're fracturing. The very foundation of how we generate energy, how we create productivity, and even how long we live is changing underneath our feet. We are in the middle of what you might call a great recalibration. And frankly, the playbooks of the past are becoming totally obsolete. So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we're going to define the new landscape, looking at why the 2030s are such a critical turning point. Then, we'll dive into the three massive transformations driving all this change: the AI productivity boom, a brand new energy paradigm, and the rise of the incredible longevity economy. And finally, we'll give you a strategic roadmap to help you navigate this new world. Okay, let's jump right in. We are standing at a really critical inflection point. You know that low-growth, low-inflation world of the 2010s? It's over. It's done. And the economic models that worked back then, well, they're just not built for what's coming at us next. The era we're leaving behind can be summed up with one key idea: hyper-financialization. Think of it as a time when speculation and financial markets often got more attention and more capital than the real economy. You know, the world of tangible things, of infrastructure, of actually producing goods and services. Well, that period is now giving way to a really profound structural shift. And this chart really lays out the change in stark relief. We're moving away from an economy driven by hyper-financialization and toward one that's all about tangible, productive assets. We're going from low inflation to what analysts are calling warmer inflation. And, so crucial for your strategy, the focus is shifting. It's no longer about just picking the right sector, it's about meticulous asset selection. In this new world, as major institutions like JP Morgan are pointing out, active management is absolutely paramount, because you can bet there are going to be very clear winners and losers. And that leads us straight into the first monumental force driving this new paradigm: the explosive, exponential growth of artificial intelligence, and its even more powerful successor, quantum computing. To really get a sense of the sheer scale of this, just look at that number: $2.6 trillion. That's the projected annual market for AI by 2030, according to UBS. This isn't some niche tech trend, folks. This is a productivity boom on the scale of the internet itself, and it's about to become a fundamental driver of our long-term economic growth. And just as we're trying to wrap our heads around AI, the next huge technological disruption is already on the horizon. Quantum computing isn't just a faster version of what we have now. It's a total step change in processing power. We're talking about the ability to solve incredibly complex problems in medicine, in materials science, and in finance that are literally impossible for even today's biggest supercomputers to crack. And the growth? It's just explosive. Now, you can see that forecasts from firms like BCC Research and Markets and Markets might differ on the exact market size by 2030, but they're telling the exact same story: a compound annual growth rate somewhere between 30 and 40%. I mean, that is the very definition of exponential growth, and it is happening right now. Now, all of this massive computational power directly fuels our second key transformation: the complete and total restructuring of our global energy paradigm. You see, all this digital magic comes at a very real, very physical cost: an absolutely insatiable demand for energy. According to UBS, the electricity needed just to cool a single modern data center is enough to melt 40,000 tons of ice per day. The AI revolution is forcing our hand, accelerating the need for radical new energy infrastructure. And the frontier of that new infrastructure, it looks like this. And no, this is not a still from a science fiction movie. This is the real interior of the ITER tokamak fusion reactor in France. Nuclear fusion, literally harnessing the power of the sun, is moving out of the lab and toward commercial reality, promising clean, safe, and virtually limitless energy. And make no mistake, this is a full-blown geopolitical and technological race. As this timeline shows, the world's major powers are aggressively chasing commercial fusion. The US is targeting pilot plants in the 2030s, with China, the UK, and Japan all on similarly fast-track schedules. The nation that masters fusion first won't just get clean energy, they'll hold a decisive economic and strategic advantage for the rest of the century. Our third and final seismic shift is, well, it's a bit more personal, but its economic impact is every bit as profound. We're talking about the emergence of a global economy built around extending the healthy human lifespan. $8 trillion. Let that sink in. That's the projected annual revenue from what UBS is calling the longevity economy by the year 2030. This isn't some niche market for the super rich. This is becoming a core pillar of the future global economy, and it's all being driven by massive demographic shifts and absolutely radical advances in healthcare.
What's fueling this? Stunning medical breakthroughs. We're seeing blockbuster drugs like the new GLP-1s for obesity, creating a market that Morgan Stanley thinks could top $100 billion. And at the same time, we're making incredible new gains against cancer, Alzheimer's, and heart disease. So what does this all mean? It means people aren't just living longer, they're staying healthier, working longer, and remaining active consumers for many more years of their lives. And the winners in this new economy extend way beyond the obvious pharma and med tech companies. The ripple effects are massive. You've got financial services, which now have to create totally new retirement solutions. You have real estate, seeing skyrocketing demand for senior and assisted living. And of course, wellness, nutrition, and consumer brands are all scrambling to adapt to an older, healthier, and wealthier global population.
Okay, so let's pull all this together. We have an AI-driven productivity boom, a new energy renaissance, and an $8 trillion longevity economy all converging at the same time. This brings us to the single most important question. How on earth do you strategically navigate this new landscape? The roadmap for the 2030s really requires a complete strategic overhaul. First, the focus has to shift to the transformational leaders. We're talking about the companies on the absolute cutting edge of AI, energy, and longevity. Second, building a portfolio needs to evolve. It's about creating a resilient 60-40+ strategy that's anchored in quality assets and high-conviction themes. And third, and maybe this is the most important part, active management is no longer optional. In an era of this much disruption, you simply can't buy an index and hope for the best. Expert asset selection is the key to navigating a market of very clear winners and very clear losers. So the great recalibration is here. The shift away from the speculative, financialized models of the past and toward real, tangible, productive economic growth is accelerating. The fundamental architecture of how wealth is created is literally being rebuilt right before our eyes. The only question is, are you holding the right blueprint? For more critical insights into the trends that are shaping our tomorrow, make sure you subscribe to Blueprint Future.